says lesson 4 on it. Some scratch paper or blank paper. This is where we're going to be planning part of our project. We also need our bag of supplies that says lesson 4. We need some scissors, some tape, and if you have hot glue and a hot glue gun, it will help us. Our other science friends have about 2 more minutes to join us before we're going to start. Yeah? Who went to school today? Yeah, a couple of us went to school. Who went to school in person? Yeah? Did anyone go to school online? On the computer? I see we have someone who went on the computer too. Yeah. Okay. I think we're only waiting for 4 more of our science friends now. We're gonna give them just about a minute longer, just in case they're running a little bit late. Okay. Does everybody have all of their supplies for today? If not, you should go get them. We're going to start with a game to make sure that we have all of our supplies. We're going to play Science Says again. So if I say science says, show me something, we're going to hold it up. If I don't say science says, we're not going to hold it up though. So science says, show me your robot from last class.
Yes, and then I gotta work. Is that what everybody else is showing?
We're holding up our robot from last class. Okay, I see that a lot of us have our robot. Yes, Pendleton, are you raising your hand? Okay. Now we're going to use our robot from, oh yes, Pendleton also has his robot. Excellent. We're going to use our robot from last class to be a body for our robot that we're going to make this class. Science says, show me some scissors. Excellent. I see a lot of scissors. Show me some tape. Uh-oh. Did I say science says? Nope. Okay. Science says, show me some tape. Yes. Excellent. We all have tape. To start today, I'm going to give you guys some slides that we can look at. Does everybody see this robot right here? Thumbs up if you see the robot.
I do.
Excellent. We're going to observe the robot and share some of our observations with the rest of the class. So who wants to tell me what they observe about the robot first? What do you see when you look at the robot?
Human.
Oh, Hunter, are you raising your hand? Oh, okay. Nobody wants to share an observation? I'll start. Does it look like a puppy to anyone? It looks a little bit like a puppy to me. Yeah. So someone built an animal robot here. This is what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be building animal robots. Lots of robots are modeled after animals or people. Let's think about what a robot is. What makes something a robot? Does anyone have any ideas about what a robot is?
A robot is something with electronics powered by an engine.
Ooh, yes. So our robots have to be powered in some way, such as by electricity. Thank you. Who else has something that a robot must have to make it a robot? Hunter's raising his hand? Oh, you're just stretching your hand. Yeah, okay. Keegan is. You want to unmute yourself?
It has to have electricity lines.
Ooh, yes. So I've heard twice now that our robots have to have electricity or some type of power. Ours have this. They have their electricity from the battery and it's flowing through our wires. Does anyone else have something different that they think a robot must have? Pendleton, do you want to unmute yourself?
Perhaps like a point, like that robot in there is supposed to, you're supposed to play with it, it's supposed to be fun. But other robots are supposed to do specific jobs like save people.
Yes, it's a great one, Pendleton. Thank you. So our robots have a job or a task which they do. This is why we build robots. We build them so they can do something for us. So a toy may be used to entertain someone. Robots that are in factories may help us build things or lift really heavy things. I'm going to share with us a video about what a robot is. And we're going to think about what happened in the video. We're going to see if it matches what we discussed about robots.
Hi, I'm Emerald Robinson, and in this What Is video, we're going to talk about a piece of science fiction turned fact, robots. When we hear the word robot, many of us picture human-like machines made of metal. Although there's some debate on what characteristics define a robot, most scientists agree that a robot is a machine able to automatically perform a task or series of tasks based on its programming and its environment. The idea of the robot isn't new. Ancient Greek, Chinese, Egyptian, and Roman engineers all documented their efforts to build artificial humans and animals. However, the word robot, derived from a term meaning forced labor, wasn't first used until 1921 in a play that told the story of a human-like robot or android. Although modern robots have many different and diverse functions, most share a few common characteristics. A robot usually is powered by some source of electricity, is programmed by humans to perform a specific set of tasks, and has the ability to respond to its environment. This last point distinguishes robots from ordinary machines. For example, a motion detector is defined as a robot because it can automatically switch on a light when it senses a person walking by. An ordinary computer is not a robot because it depends on humans to tell it what to do and can't sense and respond to the world around it. Although androids are still mostly science fiction, we use other kinds of robots every day, usually to help with tasks too dangerous or too repetitive for humans. We send robots into space to land on distant planets and use them to sweep floors in our homes. Robots assist doctors in surgery, build cars on assembly lines, work in mineral mines, and even teach students. Only time will tell how the future of robotics will benefit mankind next.
For thousands of how-to and advice videos.
Okay. So I just heard some of the ideas that we came up with in the video. So we talked about how our robots have a purpose. I think that was Pendleton who told me this idea. And we had two of us. I think that was Bishkin and was it Keegan who told me that they're normally having some sort of electricity or power. Yeah. So we came up with some of the big ideas about robots. It's a good thing. Guess what? We're making more robots today. We're going to make an animal robot. Animals have characteristics about them called traits or adaptations, which help them survive in their habitat. We're going to dive into some of these adaptations before we begin. So an adaptation is a trait that helps an animal survive. Who wants to tell me one of the adaptations that they see in one of these animals?
I see that.
Oh, someone was talking and then I think they muted themselves. Yes, Pendleton, do you want to mute yourself?
One adaptation that I see is, I believe, the white fox. And it adapted by its fur changing to white, so it blended in with its environment to become a better hunter. The same thing happens with the chameleon, and with the goat. Goats are really good at climbing, so they adapt to climbing on mountains.
Ooh, you told us a bunch of them. Thank you, Pendleton. So our Arctic fox has white fur when the ground is covered in snow, like Pendleton just said. This is camouflage. You can see how the Arctic fox blends in with the snow around him.
I don't think you want to.
When it's summertime, the Arctic fox actually has brown fur, just so it can blend in with the brown dirt. Who else wants to share an observation about one of these creatures? What about this creature in the top right-hand corner?
I don't know about that creature. It looks weird.
Yeah, it looks weird. Let's look at its tail. Looks a little bit like a leaf. This is actually a lizard.
Oh,
Yeah. So Pendleton was telling us about chameleons, which are the lizards that change color based on their environment. This is another lizard here. It always has this shape that looks a little bit like a leaf. This is so the birds can't see it and eat it as easily. The birds think it's a leaf. That way they don't eat it. What do we see in our mountain goat at the bottom? Yes, Miles, you're raising your hand.
It's not about one of the animals on here, but there's another kind of animal that it blends. It looks like something poisonous, so other things don't eat it.
Yes, that's a type of mimicry. So there's a bunch of butterflies and snakes that even though they're not poisonous, they look like other poisonous butterflies or snakes. What Miles was talking about. It's also an adaptation. It helps the animal survive where it lives. That means it's an adaptation. Who wants to share their observations about this mountain goat, the bottom of the screen? What do you see? Yes, Vishkin.
climbing up a mountain. The goats climbing up the mountain.
Yeah, it's climbing. So Pendleton told us that our mountain goats are actually really good at climbing. This is because of their hooves. They're really small. They can fit in small cracks. They can climb things that not even people can climb. Yeah. What about its horns? Who notices the horns? They look pretty sharp, don't they? They can
It's
fight.
like a bull goat. It's like a bull goat.
Yeah. Bulls also fight with horns, as do rams. Those can be used to protect themselves and to fight and find mates. Okay. I think Pendleton wants to speak next because he's raising his hand nicely.
What I was gonna say is the same thing. They use their horns for protection. And I was gonna say a helpful thing about them being able to climb mountains is it's an advantage on their predators. Because if they're on a mountain and a predator's attacking them, they can just climb up the mountain and they'll get far away. And then they can use the horns for attacking.
Yep. They use
I was gonna say about the Rams. My sister goes to CSU, and their mascot is a ram.
Yes. So CSU's mascot is a ram. They have those big round horns. They're used for fighting between the males. All the males will fight until they reach a point where they agree on who's the strongest male. That male will be able to get all the females so he can have little babies. Did anyone else have any observations or comments about these creatures? Well, thank you all for talking about observations with me. We're going to look at the habitats that some creatures live in. So here are 4 different places on this earth. There are different habitats. We can notice that they have different amounts of water and heat, and even the different types of soil that each one has. The creatures that live in each of these places have to survive based on what they have. This is one of the reasons why there's a whole bunch of different adaptations that animals have. An animal that lives in the desert needs to be able to save its water because it's not going to get water very frequently to drink. While an animal that lives here near this river can come get the water anytime it needs. We also have different changes in temperature. Let's remember what our Arctic fox looks like. Who thinks that their Arctic fox has really small ears? Yeah, they've got really small ears. This is so they don't lose heat to their environment, so they can stay nice and warm. Think about how polar bears' ears are. They're really small too. They also live in the cold. They don't want to lose a lot of heat from their ears, and so they have small ears. Fennec foxes, though, have really big ears. It's because they live in the desert. They can cool off by pushing their blood through their ears so it touches a lot of air. This is what they do instead of sweating. It's how they cool down. We are now going to look at our worksheet for a little while. We have some animals and their adaptations that we can think about. I'm going to read us one of our adaptations, and you are going to draw a line from the adaptation to the animal that it belongs to. So our first adaptation is it huddles together with other birds to keep warm. Its wings now look more like flippers to help it swim. Who thinks that that is a lion? Yeah, you think that that's a lion? Uh-oh. I don't think that's a lion. Who thinks that that adaptation belongs to a penguin? Yeah, I agree. I think it belongs to a penguin as well. I'm going to read our next adaptation. Now we can pair it with the animal that it belongs to. When threatened, it drinks lots of water. It then puffs up to protect itself from enemies. We should pair our second adaptation with the animal that it belongs to. Who thinks that that adaptation belongs to the giraffe? No? Who thinks it belongs to the penguin? What about our puffer fish? Who thinks it belongs to the puffer fish? Yes, it does. So the puffer fish, when it's scared, it blows up. That way it won't fit in the mouth of its predators very easily. It also looks big and scary. Yes, Miles, you want to share something?
A fish has much protection. It is poisonous. It has spikes, and it can blow up.
Yes. Thank you, Miles, for telling us about this. So these are all adaptations that protect the puffer fish. We're going to move on to our next adaptation now. Its long neck helps this animal reach leaves high up in the trees. It also helps it to see predators across the savanna. Who knows which creature this adaptation belongs to? Julia, do you want to unmute and tell us which creature?
I think it's a giraffe.
Yes, great job, Julia. The giraffe has a long neck. Did you know that a giraffe has the same amount of bones in its neck as you do? They're just really long bones. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Also skinny.
Yeah, they're long. And it is thinner neck compared to how long it is compared to yours. I'm going to read our last adaptation. This animal's mane helps protect its neck. It also helps the animal look larger than it really is.
Lion.
Who thinks that this adaptation belongs to an animal we already talked about? No. Who thinks it belongs to a lion?
Lion. I said it.
Yeah, you think it belongs to a lion? Miles says no, or are you just playing with your hair and shaking your head? Okay, yeah, it belongs to the lion. Male lions have that big, long, puffy mane. An older and healthier lion has a larger mane. This helps the females so they know which male lion is really healthy and ready to have babies. It's the big, long mane that's puffy. It also protects him. If someone was to try to take a bite out of that lion's neck, they would get mostly fur because of his huge mane. It's a cool adaptation. It's like protection, like armor on the lion.
Ba-da-da-da-da.
We are going to design our robots like an animal of our choice. We are going to spend the next 5 minutes and draw or write out our plans for how we're going to change our old robot into an animal. So we should use our blank paper to be drawing out our blueprint or plans for how we're going to change our old robot into an animal robot. So we are drawing out our plan for how to change our old robot into a new animal robot. Yes, Pendleton, you're raising your hand.
Aren't blueprints supposed to be blue?
So blueprints are plans that engineers make.
Yeah, but usually they're blue.
That's because of the paper that an engineer will make his final drawing on. It is normally colored blue. That way, it shows up when he draws on it really well. Not all blueprints in their first stages are going to be blue though, just like yours. You can draw out your first stages on some scratch paper, whatever scratch paper or blank paper you have around you. Miles, you're raising your hand? Now you're just making funny faces? Okay. So we should be drawing out our plans for our robot. We have about 3 minutes more of drawing out our plans before we're going to share what our plans are. If you are not working on a drawing, a plan for how to change your robot, you should be doing so right now. Engineers make blueprints all the time. They plan out what their ideas are on paper before they start building things. This is so they save their supplies and so they can show their plan to other engineers. All of you in here right now are going to be engineers today. You're going to use the supplies in your bag to make a robot. I would like everybody to hold up their plans so everybody else can see.
I don't have a pencil, so to do it, I just have to do it by memorization, but I got a pretty good idea.
Okay, so we're gonna all look at each other's drawings, our blueprints. Thank you all. Who wants to share something that's in their blueprint? Vishkin, you want to go first?
So I used one of, so I'm going to use one of these, and then I use some of these without, and I don't need the cup, but with these I make a circle around the front and on the top, and then I put this on the back to make it a tail. And I put the others on here to make it legs.
Ooh.
But
Thank
since I only have 4 of these, I need 2 more.
Mm-hmm. Thank
The
you.
colors are orange and yellow.
Thank you for sharing your plan with me. Who else wants to share their plan? Pendleton does?
So as I said, I don't have a pencil, so I can't write it down on the paper, but I have a good memorization of it. I'd wrap some of the foam or plastic-ish, the foam sheets, and I'd wrap it around the bot, sort of, and I'd of course have holes in it, so I could still connect the metal pieces, so go and stop. And I'd have little holes to put I'd have little holes, maybe to like put a leg or 2 in, or to put more support. And then I'd cut this into a bunch of pieces, and I'd stick it on around the sheet to make it have a defensive system. So whenever something touches it, it gets a little poked. I'd put googly eyes on it because then it would have eyes, and then I'd use the cup to store stuff that it may need.
Ooh, thank you for sharing your plan, Pendleton. Who else wants to share their plans for their robot? Does anyone else want to share their plans for their robot? No? Well, I've heard from 2 people who used adaptations of animals in their robot of an animal. I heard Pendleton wanted to use the cups to store things. Camels use their big humps to store water. I also heard about legs from Vishkin. Lots of animals have legs. It's an adaptation to help them move around.
I was making a line.
Keegan, you were raising your hand. Did you want to share? You want to unmute yourself?
So this is what I want to do. So I'm going to do dog. So the bottom part of the little bot is where the little popsicle sticks are going to be, and the little wiring is going to be the tail. And then a little mouth is going to be the cup.
Thank you for sharing with us, Keegan. It's a great plan for how to make a dog robot. Does anyone else want to share their plans before we make our robots? No? Okay. We are going to use our supplies from our bag to make our robot. We can cut and tape our supplies onto our robot. You can also use hot glue if you have a parent to help you. If you are using hot glue, you need to be really careful not to touch the glue though. When it is hot, it is melted. It can burn you. So we don't want to touch the hot glue when it's hot. We do not want to touch those big spider webs that come off of it. They're also hot and melted plastic. Don't touch those while they're still hot. Vishkin, you're raising your hand.
I have hot glue and I hate it.
Yeah, it does not feel good if you feel it on you. Do not burn yourself.
When do we start?
Yeah, you can start. We're going to spend 15 minutes to modify our robots using our supplies.
I couldn't find my robot.
Okay, maybe see if one of your family members knows where it is in your house.
Should I just follow the directions when I do find it?
Yes. So we're going to spend 15 minutes to modify our robot. See if you can find it in that time. Vishkin, you're raising your hand?
I don't have tinfoil, so my robot didn't work.
What do you mean you do not have tinfoil so your robot didn't work? Are you talking about this bottom piece of your robot that you do not have the pie
I
tip?
have it, but when I used one of the tinfoil, you told me to use one of the metallic items, and then you told me to like use the clip and then put it on the handles. I didn't have any of those, so yeah.
Okay. So we're going to make our robot today, and then we are going to spend the time after class to see if we can troubleshoot it. If not, I'm going to have someone send you a new motor unit. Okay? So we are trying to modify our old robot into an animal robot. We are looking at our plans, our blueprint that we drew out, and we are using our supplies to try to follow our blueprint to make our animal robot. Julia, were you raising your hand? Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, Hunter's showing me something that he used from his supplies. Yeah. See that we're all working hard on being engineers to make our robots. Excellent job, everybody. We have about 10 minutes left. Yes. I see a bunch of different parts of our robots. Great job, everybody. We have about 5 minutes left to modify our robots. Yes, Miles, you're raising your hand?
I still can't find my robot.
Okay, can we try to use our supplies that we have to make something like an animal robot?
I don't know. No, I can't find my robot.
You
I
have
can't.
Do you have your bag of supplies? It says lesson
Yes.
4. Okay, so we are going to use those supplies to try to make our body of our animal robot. When you find your motor unit from your robot sometime else, you can attach it to your new robot. So we're just going to build it for now.
Wait, you mean like build an entirely new robot?
So right now, our robot that we were starting with consisted of our motor unit and a pie tin.
I know, but
So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend we do not have it because you do not. We are going to use just our supplies that came in our bag to build a new body for a robot.
okay.
If you find your robot later, you can add your motor onto it so it moves around.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Pendleton, you're raising your hand?
I was gonna say I have added my protection system,
Ooh, yeah, that does look strong.
and it has a lot of tape.
Yep, that was our choice of something adhesive to attach everything with. We still have about 5 minutes to finish making our robot before we're going to share what we came up with.
I only need to do markers, that's all.
We have about 2 more minutes before we're going to share our robots with everybody else. So we should finish up what we're working on.
I'm done.
Okay, I hear that some of us are done. Who else is done? If you're done, raise your hand. Okay, that's 3 of us. That only makes about half of our class. So these are going to be our first people to present what they have done. Hunter, do you want to share your robot first? I'm going to spotlight Hunter's video.
So I made a shark.
Hmm. Nice. I see it has a big dorsal fin as well up at the top.
Has teeth.
Mhm. What else are these pieces on your robot? Do you want to tell me about it?
These are his fins.
And what is the front?
Up.
Yeah, is that his mouth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see he has a lot of teeth. Great job. Thank you, Hunter. Who wants to be our next person to present their robot to everybody? Oscar, I'm going to spotlight your video here.
So I made a horse.
Mhm. Excellent. Do you want to tell me what parts of your horse are on your robot?
So there's the legs, and here's the head, and I did a pipe cleaner for the tail.
Ooh, excellent job, Oscar. Thank you for sharing with us. Who wants to be next on sharing what they made? Vishkin, did you want to share your robot with everybody?
Okay. I just needed one thing.
Okay. Is anyone else done who wants to share their robot? No, nobody else is done? Oh, Pendleton is. I'm going to spotlight your video so everybody can see your robot while they work. Do you want to tell me about your robot? Oh, you are still muted, Pendleton. If you were talking to us, you have to unmute yourself.
I was gonna say, about the like butterflies that'll have special color patterns
Mhm.
to make them look poisonous.
Mhm.
I'm partially done, but I
Yeah.
put a few colors on for that. I have ram's horns, and
Ooh.
then I have the protection of a lion. So I kind of put everything in there. Oh, and it's also a slug because I don't have any legs.
You used a whole bunch of different adaptations to make your own animal. Great
That
job,
is
Pendleton.
what I was going for.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to share what they made? Yes, Vishkin.
So I made a lion,
Mhm.
and well, it was hard. But the lion, I used a cup. I used half of the popsicle sticks. One of the string part, I cut it.
Ooh. Yes.
It was a line. I just couldn't color it. I don't have any markers.
I think it looks really good, even like that. Thank you for sharing with us, Vishkin. Does anyone else want to share their robot? No? That is okay. So I saw we had a lot of animal adaptations that were mimicked in our robots. How many of us had legs on our robots? Yeah. See, a lot of us had legs on our robots. How many of us had heads or mouths on our robots? Ooh, even more of us had heads or mouths. Yes. So these were all adaptations that animals might have. We use them in our robots. This means that we model our robots after some of the traits that our animals had. Engineers do this as well. So they will build animal robots and robots that are shaped like humans because we understand how their balance works and we understand muscles and grabbing pretty well. This is why claws, like claw robots, exist. They mimic hands. We're going to think about where our creatures that we see in everyday life have adaptations to survive in. So we're going to think about the adaptations they have and the habitats they live in. Who wants to share a creature that they know an adaptation about? Yes, Pendleton, you want to go first?
I'm assuming that the blobfish looks ugly so that nothing else eats it. Because if somebody saw a blobfish, they'd probably skip that and go for the slug because the blobfish is drooling and looking horrible. And greasy and pukey and upset. Not a very appetizing meal.
That's a good hypothesis about why the blobfish might have its adaptations that it does. Maybe it looks unappealing to its predators, so it doesn't have any. It also lives really deep in the ocean, and so the pressure of the ocean and all the water on top of it squish it. It doesn't have a huge amount of bones like a lot of other fish that we know about. That's why it looks the way it does. Who else wants to share about a creature that they know about?
Actually, I have an opinion on the bones.
Yeah?
Most fish don't have actual bones like us. Some actually instead have cartilage entirely.
So they have a skeleton made of cartilage, Pendleton's
Which
saying.
makes it which makes them one, more maneuverable, and two, helps them fix their body.
Yes. They still have some of the same bone structures to us though, like ribs and their vertebrae and their skull. Who else wants to share about a creature that they know? What about a dog? Who's ever seen a dog? Yeah, lots of us have seen dogs. What adaptation does a dog have? Yes, Vishkin, you're raising your hand?
I'm pretty sure dogs comes in packs when they're not adopted. They like hunt and for us and like fish and anytime when there's a cub, they sometimes feed them a lot, making them grow up.
Yeah.
It's like
Yes, Vishkin. So dogs and wolves live in packs. Our dogs want to live in a pack with us. That's why they want to stick around you so much. They will cuddle up for warmth. And they will try to share things with you, such as their toys or something that they found in the yard or on walks. I see that Pendleton has a dog. What other adaptations do we see in Pendleton's dog right now or in your own pet dogs?
Fur.
Fur. Yes. That keeps a dog and even us nice and warm. That's why we have hair. Vishkin, you're raising your hand?
I know one animal that has adaptations. Well, it's not an animal, but it's a bug. It's a cockroach.
Ooh. What adaptation does a cockroach have?
So one way a cockroach can survive is that they're immune to bug spray. They can live a week without a head. And it lives a month without food, lives a week without water, and the only way to get rid of it is to clean.
Yeah, that's a lot of adaptations. So immunity to some poisons like bug spray. Or they're
It's also just immune to toxins.
Toxin.
Another they also have sharp teeth, which they use on predators, and my dog uses on deer.
They have teeth inside their stomachs for grinding.
Who does?
Cockroach.
Yes. That's a cool adaptation. Did you know
Cockroaches have 60 tubes of getting rid of waste.
Did you know that cows also use a lot of grinding motion in their stomach and in their teeth for their food?
They have 3 stomachs.
I see that they eat slowly. Just eat
Or the
slowly.
stomachs.
So what happens for a cow is he will eat his grass or his hay, and it'll go in his stomach. Later, when he's laying around or standing, he'll puke it all back up so it's in his mouth, so he can chew it all over again. It'll then go back into a different stomach. Cows are ruminids. That means that they do that action, puking up their food multiple times. Helps them so they can get more nutrients and calories, that's energy, out of their food. Who else who has not spoken recently has an observation about an animal around them or wants to talk about an adaptation? Oh, it looks like Pendleton wants to speak again. We're going to let him have one more comment.
I was gonna say, cows, I would say part of their adaptation would be they don't get killed because humans protect them because they give off good stuff like milk and cheese, which is transformed through the milk.
Yeah, that's called domestication. So when humans change where an animal lives, how they live, or protects them, we call that animal a domestic animal. So our cows or our dogs or anything that people keep are domestic animals. Things that live in the wild, like deer or fox or owls. Those are not domestic animals because they do not rely on humans to take care of them. Miles, are you raising your hand?
When do we move on to the next thing? Like, are we just going to be talking about this?
Yeah, this was our last thing that we're doing today.
Maybe leave if we, well, just, if
So-
we don't, what?
So when we come back next week, that's going to be our last class together, our last robot. We need to make sure that we bring back our motor unit with us.
Okay.
We also have on our worksheet some extra activities we can do. So we can think about our animals and where they live, draw out their habitats.
Habitats are also called as environments.
Yes, they are. Great job, Vishkin. Does anyone have any last questions before you go?
No?
Okay. If you want to stay and talk about animals for the next 2 minutes, I will stay here. I will also stay here for in case anyone needs help with their robot. For everybody else, you can leave and I will see you next week. Thank you for being great scientists with me. Bye-bye. Did anyone here need help with their robot, Julia? Or are you just waiting for your extra pieces to come in the mail? Oh, you are muted. I cannot hear you. Okay. And I do not think Pendleton needs help. I think he's dealing with his dog. So bye-bye. Bye-bye, Pendleton.